Today I'm going to continue my efforts to get Brook onto the surface of Hyrule with all my might. But we are up against a wall here, because what's most likely holding me back is the fact that this is a loading zone, bounding Brook to the depths, causing Brook to disappear every time we cross it. Brook is my beloved pet Stalhorse, if you weren't aware. Let's see if we can do anything sneaky to get around that. It's time to continue Operation Stal-Lift. But some of you might be saying to yourself, Operation Stall what?
What the hell is even that?
Well, in my last video, I spent an egregious amount of time trying to build Zonai contraptions to airlift a Stalhorse out of the depths of Hyrule onto the surface. And now, thanks to the power of our community, we're ready to move forward, boldly. What's on the agenda today, you ask? We got some balloons, frost emitters, turbines, maybe a new chasm, and of course, some wacky antics along the way. But first, I need to address a comment that popped up, maybe a few times. Yes, I am aware that Stalhorses exist on the surface of Hyrule. It's not about Stalhorses plural. It's about this Stalhorse. It's about Brook. It's about getting him up there. It's about doing the impossible. Did we get to the moon by saying it couldn't be done? No. Stanley Kubrick went to a studio in Hollywood, got a bunch of The game just doesn't want me to do it, and that's why I want to do it. This is about freedom.
I thought this was America! Huh? Isn't this America?
With that out of the way, let's get down to business. I went through your comments and I tried to hit as many of them as possible.
He's a good man. And thorough.
Several of you suggested that the Zonai carts were just too heavy, and someone suggested that I use the metal grates, and I gotta say, I am very grateful for that advice. This was a great change for my workflow. Gee, I really hope these great puns aren't getting too grating for you. All I did was glue an apple onto the grate so that it would stay in my auto build menu, and now I can summon it whenever at the cost of Zonite.
Very cool.
The grates are much lighter than the Zonai carts, and for an added bonus, it's actually easier to secure Brook with these. They snap together so much easier than the absolute mess of Zonai carts I was using before, so thank you very much for the advice. Grates are now a staple in the Stal-Lift program.
Really great stuff.
With some input from you guys, I've created the Stal-Lift Air Mark 1. Lift is easily achieved now with 4 hot air balloons and constantly powered by campfires, effectively making this a battery-free method of travel. Another benefit is the fact that I get to ride inside the carriage with Brook during flight. I can soothe him so that he's not running around like crazy the entire time, and hopefully it'll prevent him from despawning. There's just one problem with this method. Unfortunately, the hot air balloons ran out of gas right when we got to the base of the pit, and then Stal-Lift Air Mark 2. I made the carriage a little bit bigger and I used rockets to help get us up in the air. That was a spectacular failure as well.
Oh no.
Also, I really don't want to talk about it, but somehow the Mark II got stuck in a tree, and the Mark III was not much better. The only real solution for this would be hot swapping balloons mid-flight, but with the tiny amount of space in the Stal-Lift Air, it's just impractical. It was with a heavy heart that I decided to ground the Stal-Lift Air program. We're about to do a 2-for-1 special here. Many people suggested that the issue with the initial iterations of the Stal-Lift was not the design, but rather the time of day, meaning the reason Brook was disappearing was because of the fact that the Stalhorse can't exist on the surface during the daytime. Well, sew me into a bear carcass and light me on fire, because as I was recording this, I was so focused in getting up the pit, I didn't even really think about time of day. So now I'll think about that, and one other thing. Some of the very astute commenters pointed out the exact map coordinates where Brook disappeared, which was incredibly helpful. Things start to get weird around -156. Damn you, -156! With that in mind, I will hop onto Brook right before we hit the dreaded -156. Much to my dismay, Brook disappeared anyway, yet again.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just...
But interestingly enough, he did reappear down below. Ultimately, time of day isn't the issue here, and mounting Brook before he despawns doesn't help either.
Well, shit.
A few people suggested using frost emitters to keep Brook on ice, probably after seeing this. It won't hurt him, they said. Turns out, it hurt him. He died.
Oh, God! God, what have I done?
I of course had to be sure. I had to test it out for science. I captured another Stalhorse and chucked it into the Stal-Lift Ground Edition. I plopped a frost emitter in there, and yeah, I can say with certainty now that frost emitters do in fact hurt Stalhorses. Sorry, buddy. I went back to whatever the fuck shrine and grabbed that fan and motor as suggested by some of you. It took me a second to realize these dang old things need a shock emitter to power them. But also, I really kind of fudged the design. Can I just say this? It was not the cleanest takeoff of my career. But I got it in the air, and that's what really counts. I added a steering stick mid-flight like all great pilots do, but man, this thing did not fly well. Then I really fucked up by letting go of the control stick. But if I'm being so real, at this point, how we got up the hole didn't—
That's what she said!
how we got up there didn't really make a difference to me anymore. I know Brook is just gonna despawn around -158 whether I use rockets, balloons, or fans. And frankly, I'm not a big fan of that. It was around this point that I needed a change of scenery. You gotta understand, I have like 65 hours in this game and a solid 20 of them have been this. Potential spoiler warning, I'm not going to discuss the story at all, but I am showing locations from the main quest. Welcome to Tobio's Hollow Chasm. This was a nightmare. For starters, I don't know if you noticed, but in the last video, I only had 2 of the 4 temples complete, and I didn't have Tobio's Hollow unlocked at all. For the sake of Operation Stal-Lift, I did what any rational person would have done. I completed the next 2 temples and found my way into Tobio's Hollow Chasm.
That's not something a rational person would do.
Right, yeah.
Still haven't found Zelda, but that's okay, she's fine. As I descended, I really started to wonder though, why did people think this would be easier? I do get the appeal of riding Brook up this tunnel. But man, this incline is rather steep. Not to mention I need to bring Brook all the way over here and make 2 stall lifts for the 2 separate holes. I'm gonna level with y'all here. This is not the same Brook from the beginning of the video. This is a girl Brook. How do I know? I just know these things, okay? Don't ask questions. This is Brook with an E. The other Brook didn't have an E in his name. Just so we're on the same page. I found this Brook closer to Tobio's, which saying a name like that makes me feel like it's a pizzeria, so we're gonna keep that going. Tobio's Pizza, baby! It was quite a hike to get back up to Tobio's. And I'm not joking when I say this, I was tested in an extreme way here. My patience were really running thin. There were a few obstacles, but it was all gonna be worth it. To me, this location is the last hope. If it's gonna work here. I thought Brook got stuck in this jagged little slopey rocky road thing over here, but good news. I found a nice little trick to get Stalhorses to go where you want them to go. Remember what I said in the last video? You see, Brook and Stalhorses in general are afraid of Zonai devices. They will just run if you move them around near them. I whipped out a fan and I scared her back up this hill, effectively freeing her from being stuck. It was a pro gamer move. I'm really starting to speak the language of this game. In the end, I got so frustrated to the point where I decided,
oh, fuck it.
I decided to start the stall lift here in the middle of nowhere and just fly over everything. It was precarious getting Brook into this stall lift. In fact, there were a few moments when we were flying towards Tobio's Pizza that I thought she was gonna fall right out and I really would have freaked out, but we made it. After way too many rockets, we landed on the sloped section of Tobio's Pizza. I ever so carefully removed part of the stall lift and hopped onto Brook. Then the hike continued. It was a little tricky navigating up this part. There were plenty of sections where Brook just didn't want to go, but we were making progress. My hopes were sky high until I found it. The area where the game needs to load. The environment changes and we enter no man's land. I get forced off Brook no matter how many times I try. From certain angles, Brook disappears only to reappear once I get further away from the surface. And here's the kicker. This is the same map coordinate as the original hole we were traversing. Around -158 to -155, it's the same region. This has to be where the game is loading.
Oh, jeez. It's no use.
At this point, I tried to make another stall lift just to force Brook through, but I was completely out of zonite. I was back to the carts, and it just wasn't great. And I only had a few rockets left, and then Brook ran up into no man's land where I couldn't even get back on her. Ladies and gentlemen, things were falling apart. To truly confirm what many people suggested about the loading zone barrier, I decided to flip the script a little bit here. Meet Tammy the horse. Tammy is from my original Breath of the Wild save. Tammy will be part of our adventure today. Let's commence Operation Tammy-Drop. Horses violently avoid the chasms in this game. As you may have gathered, I am not an engineer, but where I lack those skills, I have an excess of persistence. My brain went to rockets and just, flying full force into the pit. I built a few different vessels to launch Tammy and I into the depths, and my findings were consistent. Tammy would disappear at the loading zone and would reappear on the surface. Someone else asked me to throw a Korok down there, and you don't gotta ask me that twice. In fact, I'm actually kind of curious why I hadn't thought of that already. You know, for science, and not for war crimes. I built a Korok containment chamber and chucked the little fucker in, and wouldn't you know, the containment chamber survived. Well, sorta. But the Korok despawned. And that's about the time it really started to sink in. While my heart was heavy earlier as I grounded the Stal-Lift Air program, it's tenfold heavier now as I admit this out loud. I don't think it's possible to get Brook onto the surface. Not without cheating or no clipping through the map. Our journey ends here. For now, anyway. Maybe one of you will figure something out. I'd be happy to be proven wrong here. But for now, Brook will stay here and he'll wait. It's very fitting. It's just like how Brook left Laboon behind with a promise to return. I'll leave Brook with an apple, maybe even a few. I'll adventure knowing that one day I'll see Brook again. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm really glad that you guys enjoyed the first one. Thank you so much for all the new subscribers. Welcome to the channel, and 100K views on that video is nuts for this channel. So I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed part 2. And if you're into these weird series where I'm just trying to do things that the game doesn't want to do, I definitely suggest you check out my video where I'm escorting Fargoth from Morrowind to fight Lord Vivek. That video was a hoot. And I also have a long-form Animal Crossing series that involves both time travel and fighting villagers, and not in the way you'd think. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.